And we are live.
Hi, we have a friend who has experimented with the Kratky method of hydroponic gardening for several years, and I've seen this and that he's done over the time, and so this year I decided to experiment a little bit. So right here I have this tub full of hydroponic solution. Now there's a cucumber right here, and there is some sort of squash here. There's a tomato here that's fallen over that's got all these tomatoes on it. There's a celery right here, lettuce that's going to seed. This was eaten by a groundhog before we trapped him. This pepper hasn't been in there very long. I started out with celery, lettuce, and broccoli. Now the Kratky method, you typically in your baskets you have perlite, large perlite net basket with lots of big holes in it. So what I've done is I decided, I really like growing in dirt. Maybe I can take advantage of the hydroponics and still grow in dirt, because I think dirt has advantages. There are beneficial bacteria in there. We have our mix of rock dust, trace mineral nutrients that I think are more available as far as we are concerned as to where to get them in a rock dust form that can go in dirt and the bacteria can break down, as opposed to something that's water soluble. So what I did is I've got 6 pots in this setup, and I had of the same plant with dirt. Well, it's a potting medium we mixed. It's peat and compost and rock dust and whatnot. And right next to one with perlite, just to see if it would work better. And the ones in the soil grew much better than the ones in the perlite, faster, bigger. So now all these have perlite. So these are not all the same stage, but if I'll pull that up, you can see this one hadn't been in there very long, but see the roots on it? So this is a regular pot, and it's got roots growing on it. Have you got it?
Yep.
Okay, now let's go to this one, see what the cucumber looks like. Also pretty small. These haven't been in there very long. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now, the lettuce has been in here a long time, and in fact they're looking kind of brown yucky now because the lettuce is it's got some new growth there, but it's died back a huge amount, so a lot of that's kind of dying, I think. Okay, now the celery looks pretty good, so its root structure is probably... So that's all down in that solution. That solution has hydroponic chemicals in it, so it's the somewhat complete. I haven't pulled them out this way before. I have just kind of been peeking out through the edge of the big lid, so hopefully I don't damage it too much. So I got caught a couple. Okay, so that is the experiment. Now we've got a happy cucumber around back in a barrel, so let's go look at that. All right, here we are in the backyard. This is our happy cucumber. If you come from this side, you can see, look at all these. There's 4 growing tips last time I counted, and lots of flowers. This thing is pretty happy. Now, you can see some burns on here because there was powdery mildew trying to take it over, and I treated it with copper sulfate and some humic acid, and I think I got a little straw and I've got some burning here, but they've survived. They're doing pretty well here. This is the basket, this little small bucket, and it's got our growing medium, our peat and compost and all that good stuff. This is 2, that's a market more on that side. The one you saw first is a straight 8. So they're planted in here. They've got slots and slits in the bottom. If you look up here, see the roots coming down out of that thing? You can see how these are nice and white and healthy instead of like that slimy one on the lettuce. So this, when you start it, the water level is up here somewhere, and so the soil in there keeps wet, and then when the roots grow out, they go down. Now if the water level drops, these roots are long enough they can still keep drawing water up, so you don't have to put any more water in here. You can just let it go. If you got enough water for the whole season, you don't even ever have to do it at all. Our friend has some of them he has refilling sort of things with float valves and fancy stuff, so I'll maybe go in here and look at it, maybe refill it later if I need to. So the fertilizer in here is the Master Blend. I was on Amazon looking at something else, and it was what my friend was using. It was Master Blend plus Epsom salts plus calcium nitrate, and the Master Blend tells you what ratio of all those to do. So I did it according to their instructions, filled this barrel up with it, and then afterwards I'd gotten some humic acid, some water soluble. They've already extracted the non-soluble portions, and so it's this powder. You just add water, and I made this thick concentrate. So I put a little bit of that in there. It's supposed to help with the uptake of minerals. You saw that looked clear. It wasn't black and murky. So there's not a whole lot in there, but I thought that might have a few extra trace minerals in it too that the master blend and whatnot doesn't have, because it only covers the primary and the the NPK, and then the secondary, the iron and sulfur and calcium and magnesium, and it's got zinc in there and half a dozen others maybe, but it doesn't have like cobalt. Your vitamin B12 is a cobalamine, so it's based around a cobalt molecule. If there's no cobalt there, no bacteria that's in your garden can ever grow that. So every vitamin, whatever that exists, has to have certain minerals. So even though they don't put cobalt in fertilizer, if your ground doesn't have it, there's no way that any of your garden can supply vitamin B12, for example, and other things as well. So that's the benefit for the trace minerals, and we supply that in this level through azomite, which is a rock dust that we get out of Utah. Has 90-some trace minerals in it. We also use rock phosphate, which is a good source of phosphorus, but it also has trace minerals. I don't know what the number is, 30 to 60, not as many as the azomite. So we got both of those in there. I think there's a little bit of lime in there. We start out with a little bit of acidulated fertilizer, a 10-20-10, when we first started. And then I've got a compost barrel that's a liquid compost. I throw weeds in there. There's been horse manure, not horse, chicken manure in there sometimes, and mainly weeds and from the yard. So I poured that on the top to water it. I've done that a few times. So that is what we've got here. We've had 2 months of rain, so off and on we've got lots and lots of rain. So ever since this thing's been planted, it's gotten too much rain. It's been suffering from powdery mildew, and I've had to spray it, like I said earlier. And you can see right here these little spots if you get in close. That's more powdery mildew starting to try to take off. The sunshine like this, it shouldn't have a problem if it stays hot like this. So I'm going to spray it again. I'll have to dilute it some. I had it too strong, and that's why it's got some burning here on these leaves. But it did knock out the infection, I think, for a time. So it looks pretty happy. My sprayer is maybe a quarter full. I'm going to fill it up with water, and that'll give me a pretty heavy dilution. That should protect it from burning the next leaf. So that is our cucumber barrel. Jackie saw somebody who had a hydroponic cucumber barrel. I don't think it used any of this kind of stuff. It was just a net pot.
Yeah.
But we wanted to try something else. So that is our cucumber experiment. We're hoping to get more cucumbers than we can eat out of just these two plants. So there you go.